Manchester City 3, Tottenham 3, and what a bizarre, mental, brilliant game of football that was. And do you know what? What a bizarre weekend of Premier League football we have just witnessed. 38 goals, red cards, penalties, late drama, big teams getting turned over, comebacks, shocks. I mean, it had absolutely everything. And do you know what? The Premier League is a product right now. Like, other than the absolute disastrous refereeing, which I suppose is almost threatening to ruin it all, like, the games are just so exciting. You have so many teams in the Premier League right now that want to play open, attacking, expansive football. It just makes it so exciting for a neutral to watch. I mean, there used to be a time maybe 10 years ago you'd sit down and watch Man City versus Tottenham, or you'd sit down and you watch Arsenal versus Chelsea, and it would just be very cagey, boring, like a spectacle, you know, in terms of a spectacle. And don't get me wrong, like, not every time big games are going to produce. I mean, Man City Liverpool was fairly disappointing last week, although I do think that was because it was a 12:30 kickoff. You look back to when Arsenal played Man City, I think that game overall as a spectacle probably let us down. But I do think overall, like, the Premier League as a whole so far this season has been so entertaining, and this weekend's games as well were absolutely brilliant. Man City versus Tottenham, look, I mean, it was an interesting game, and look, it's interesting with Manchester City. It is interesting with them. Like, there's so many people, you look on Twitter, you look on social media, who are saying Manchester City not the same team. Not the same team. You know, they won the treble last year, so because they won the treble last year, they're not going to have the same appetite, the same hunger this year. You know, maybe a couple of changes in the team, the likes of Gundogan obviously leaving in the summer. You know, a lot of people questioning Manchester City right now. Obviously, in their last 3 games following this draw with Tottenham, they've conceded, I think, 8 goals in their last 3 Premier League matches, which for a team like Manchester City, for how good they have been defensively notoriously in the last couple of years, is a little bit bizarre. But I do think we're missing a couple of key points. Firstly, Man City never lost in any of these 3 league games. Do you know what I mean? I know they've lost a couple of games this season away to Wolves and away to Arsenal. They didn't lose to Chelsea. They didn't lose to Tottenham. They didn't lose to Liverpool. And look, fair enough, they played Liverpool and Tottenham at home. You would expect the best version of Manchester City to win those games. You know, considering Tottenham have had so many injuries coming in a bit of bad run of form. Liverpool, I don't think, I mean, we'll discuss them a little bit later. I don't think they're necessarily the finished article either. And obviously the draw against Chelsea. I mean, everybody knows the problems with Chelsea right now. But Man City at this stage of the season, for the last, 4 or 5 years under Pep Guardiola, are notorious slow starters. And, are we ignoring the fact of how the Premier League table looked this time last year when they were cut adrift a little bit of Arsenal? It was looking like Arsenal were almost going to run away with it. It looked like Manchester City just didn't have it within them to be able to turn it around. I mean, Haaland was banging the goals in, but you just looked at Man City and you thought, apart from Haaland banging those goals in, they didn't have a whole lot to them. And I think another important point that a lot of people are forgetting, Kevin De Bruyne is currently injured right now for Man City. And, if you were to take the best player out of, any of the top 3, top 4 teams, I can guarantee there would be a drop-off. If you took Salah out of Liverpool would not be the same team. I don't even think we'd be in a title race right now. If we are in a title race, I think we are. But, I think if you took Salah out of Liverpool, I think Liverpool would be probably 5th, 6th, probably in around where Man United and Newcastle are right now. Arsenal have had a fair few injuries this season, but if you were to take Saka or Odegaard out of Arsenal, I think there would be a tremendous drop-off. So, and I do think overall Kevin De Bruyne is Manchester City's best player. Like, don't get me wrong, Haaland is their finisher, he's their goal scorer. But without De Bruyne, and you can even see it at times this season, Haaland isn't getting the same level of service and same level of chances that he got last season when Kevin De Bruyne was there. And I just think a lot of people are missing that part. And when he comes back into the team for the second half of the season, like, that could really be what fuels Manchester City and kicks them on. And usually it is the second half of the season where Manchester City really do click into gear. And look, as a Liverpool fan, I would love nothing more than Manchester City to have a season like they did in the 2019-20 season and completely fall away and, make the same mistakes and ultimately just get cut adrift by 15-20 points. But even when you look at Manchester City's points tally that season, like, it actually still wasn't that bad. It was just that Liverpool were so good. So yeah, I do think all the talk about Man City not being the same team, like, they are 3rd in the league, a point off, they're actually closer to being 5th than they are 1st right now. I do think it's a little bit premature, all the chat about Man City not looking the same, because I can tell you as a Liverpool fan, I've seen it numerous times down the years where Man City start the league a little bit slow, don't look to their best, but once they click into gear, once they get all their best players back, they can go on a run, 10, 15 games, and they're probably the only team in the Premier League that I believe can do that. In terms of this game though, like look, Tottenham, I mean, Heung-min Son, I mean, don't get me wrong, I've seen Salah destroy Manchester City on multiple occasions, but like, he's only scored twice at the Etihad as far as I remember. Son has done it on numerous occasions at the Etihad. Like, how many times has he scored there? Some players just love playing at certain grounds, and like, it was almost written in the stars that Tottenham were going to take the lead in this game, because how many times did Man City concede the first goal when they play Tottenham, and how many times this season have Tottenham taken the lead and then not won? I mean, it's happened a good few times, even recently in the last couple of games. They take the lead through that goal from Son, and you were just thinking from Tottenham, like, just, when that free comes in, just get your head to it. Someone needs to get on it. A defender needs to get onto it. It comes off Son, goes in the back of the net, 1-1. Don't allow Man City to come back into a game as easy as that. Like, don't make it easy for them. And that was just the most easiest goal Man City will get all season. But to be fair, look, it was a cracking game. Obviously, Man City went in front, obviously, with the second goal from Phil Foden. Spurs then fought back with Lo Celso. It then went to 3-2 with Grealish, and then 3-3 with Kulusevski. Man City's defence does look very shaky right now, no question about it. And even Ederson, making, like, those first two, I thought he should have saved the effort from Son. Normally you'd see Ederson save them, so that was a little bit surprising. But yeah, look, fair play to Tottenham, to have the injuries that they've had, to be in a bit of a, I wouldn't even necessarily say it's been a crisis, but definitely an injury crisis. 3 defeats on the spin. You lose this game. You then go into a derby with West Ham, and all of a sudden Tottenham are in massive, massive trouble. But yeah, fair play to Tottenham for grinding out a draw. Like, some performance to get themselves back into it. Like, big Ange Postecoglou, watched them quite a lot at Celtic. Big respect. And fair play, he's doing well in the Premier League right now. I do think eventually he will have to adapt and change his style if he wants to be really successful with Tottenham in terms of winning major trophies. I don't know if this style is sustainable necessarily to win major trophies in the Premier League or in England, but fair play, that was some fight back, and it was a good result for Tottenham, that. And looking at some of the results this weekend in general, I mean, as I was saying, 38 goals in total this weekend, which certainly might be a record. I don't know. It kind of nearly reminds me of those Boxing Day results which always get thrown around. Was it like the 1962 or something like that always tend to get thrown around on Twitter? But even on Sunday, which is the day I'm recording this right now, I mean, some mental results. Liverpool 4, Fulham 3, Chelsea 3, Brighton 2, Burma 2, Aston Villa 2, West Ham 1, Palace 1, Man City 3, Tottenham 3, as we mentioned. And I mean, thank God they were all on TV. We could all sit down, get the popcorn out and watch them. I mean, seriously, what is the Premier League thinking here? West Ham Crystal Palace was the game you put on Sky. To be fair, I don't even think this is the Premier League's fault. What is Sky thinking here? How have you chose West Ham Crystal Palace as the game that should be shown on TV? I mean, that just genuinely makes zero sense. I mean, don't get me wrong, I can understand why they didn't go with Liverpool Fulham, because you would usually expect Liverpool to probably beat them 3-4-0, be a non-contest. Nobody really is that excited about it, other than Liverpool fans, if that was the case. But Chelsea, Brighton, Burma Villa, two attacking teams. I'd like to play good football. That game was bound to be entertaining. And even Chelsea, Brighton, like, considering the history between Chelsea and Brighton recently, Chelsea taking so many of Brighton's players, Brighton still able to beat Chelsea a lot recently and finish above them in the league table. So, like, how did they not show that? It's just, the Premier League schedule at times this year has been absolutely bizarre. And that's the thing. The league is so exciting. The football is so exciting. But sometimes, like, the schedule, and then even some of the refereeing decisions is a bit bizarre as well. And that actually reminds me, that decision at the end of the Man City Tottenham game, where Haaland is putting Grealish through. Like, how on earth can Simon Hooper, like, he waves the advantage, and then he calls it back, and he's like, actually no, yeah, foul. Play on, no, foul. I mean, what? Absolutely no sense. And Man City players were right to go absolutely nuts there. Do you know what I mean? And people were going crazy, like they're surrounding the referee and all this crack. Like, come on, they weren't completely surrounding, but they were right to be like, what are you doing, man? Absolutely crazy. But hey, it wouldn't be the first time Simon Hooper has done, has been involved in a decision that, has gone in favour of Tottenham conceding a goal. To be fair, that goal that Luis Diaz scored against Tottenham was actually VAR's fault and actually the assistant's fault, and probably had nothing to do with Simon Hooper. But yeah, I mean, the fact he is refereeing big games on a Sunday still is a little bit nuts. And yeah, this was a mental decision because, like, as we were saying before, Jack Grealish going through, having just scored, I would have banked on him to score that. But yeah, that was a mental decision. I completely forgot about that. It just came back to me now. But speaking of some of the games today, Liverpool, Fulham. Look, as a Liverpool fan, that was just like my heart was going, I mean, topsy-turvy. I don't know how many games Liverpool have had like that under Jurgen Klopp. Like, we always seem to make it entertaining, like Drama FC, do you know what I mean? Put us with the soap operas or whatever. Like, it just always has to be entertaining. The games that should be simple are never simple. Do you get me? Like, I mean, home against Fulham, 2 o'clock on a Sunday. Like, how many times down the years have Liverpool just messed these games up? Like, and it would have been so Liverpool to go and get a draw against Man City. Right, you're in a title race, home to Fulham, lose. Oh, for fuck's sake, man. Thankfully enough, though, we did manage to win the game. I mean, Trent scored an absolute banger of a free kick, which eventually went down as a own goal. It hit Leno on the back. A little bit unlucky there from Trent, but we'll come back to him obviously a little bit later. Fulham get the equaliser. Kevin Kelleher's obviously in a man in goal with Alisson's injury. Look, as a fellow Irishman, like, I want nothing but the best for Kelleher, and I think I've really enjoyed the story of him, being such a critical part of Liverpool's Carabao Cup win a couple of years ago and everything else. And he's been a fairly decent number two. I've seen Liverpool number one goalkeepers make absolute howlers. And Kelleher, to be fair, has usually been quite consistent when he's played. But this season, when I have seen him, like, he definitely has been making more errors than usual. And, like, the first one, I think he should do better there. It's straight at him. His reaction time should be quicker. And the second one as well, he steps out before the flick. And, it was just a little bit unfortunate with those two goals. And, look, Alisson is, by far for me, the best goalkeeper in the world, the best goalkeeper in the Premier League. He makes so many big saves for Liverpool. Like, we were bound to concede a couple of goals. You were just thinking Fulham, a side that don't normally score loads of goals, but here they are scoring 3 at Anfield. Like, Kelleher should be doing better, but look, it is what it is. We know what Kelleher brings to the table, and to be fair, he's only going to be missing, I think, for the next 2 Premier League games, which is Sheffield United and Crystal Palace. He should be back, touch wood, he should be back for Man United, because, look, Man United are in absolute crisis. We'll speak about them in a minute, but you would want Alisson back for that game. When we went 3-2 down, though, I was just like, oh, for fuck's sake, man. Like, here we go. Why are you doing this to me? Like, at home to Fulham. Come on, man. Come on. Like, don't get me wrong. I don't expect Liverpool to win every game all the time. But home to Fulham, you should be winning that. Like, what are they, 16th in the league before the game? You should be beating them. But look, thankfully, Wataru Endo came off the bench. He scored a banger. And then Trent obviously hammers in the winner. And obviously, we can't forget McAllister's second goal. I don't think I mentioned that. I mean, goodness me, what a strike that was. Like, 4 absolute bangers. 4 goals that you could genuinely all see in the goal of the month contender. Maybe the Trent first one won't go because it was an own goal in the end, but even with Toro Endo's strike, like, that was vintage stuff. And on a day where Liverpool's forwards didn't really get going, Núñez had another sort of bizarre Núñez performance. Do you know what, when he hit the crossbar, you were just like, for God's sake, like, he does get quite unlucky at times, doesn't he? Like, because, like, just a centimetre lower and that's in the back of the net. But when it rains, it pours, as they say. Salah wasn't looking great. Salah's looked a little bit sort of tired and jaded a little bit recently, struggling to beat his man. And I thought Anthony Robinson was outstanding, and Salah struggled to get past him, to be honest. And even at the other end, Diaz didn't really do much. And Gakpo, when he came on, struggled at times as well. He did little bits. He was probably more so playing in midfield. But look, Liverpool got the job done. They got the victory. That was the most important thing. Are Liverpool going to win the league? I just don't see it. As I said, I still think Man City win the league. Once they get De Bruyne back, and once Doku settles more and more into this league, he's only going to get better. Like, he's going to start adding end product to his game. Grealish, we've started to see him come back into the side now. He scored today. So I just don't see anyone catching Man City to be honest with you. I mean, Arsenal did look good at the weekend. Like, that was a big win for them against Wolves. Arsenal, like, they remind me a lot, actually, of when Liverpool won the league in the 2019-20 season, where Liverpool, that season, a lot of the time, we didn't blow teams away. We didn't hammer teams. It wasn't chaotic, kamikaze, NBA-style football that we're seeing with Liverpool right now, or even in years leading up to that season. But we just about got over the line in a lot of games. We just kept ticking things over, kept winning. That's what Arsenal remind me of. They keep finding ways to win, and I never thought I'd say this, but their best asset right now is their defence and their midfield, which was a complete role reversal to last season. I mean, Declan Rice, I think, has a strong contender to, be the player of the year right now, or the Premier League player of the year. He, again, was absolutely immense. Saliba's been brilliant. Zinchenko, I think, has really improved. And look, Saka obviously scored. Odegaard scored. Arsenal's attacking players haven't been in the best of form, overall this season in comparison to last season. But yet they're still top of the league by 2 points, and that does show us that I do think Arsenal long term are the more likely team to win the league if Man City are not going to win it. But look, that game between Liverpool and Arsenal a day before Christmas Eve, that is shaping up to be an absolute cracker. Hopefully those two sides are, still 1 or 2 points away from each other when that game comes around, because that will be some game. Looking at some other results from the weekend then, Chelsea beat Brighton 3-2. I was mostly obviously watching the Liverpool game. I've seen bits of this. Obviously, Enzo Fernandez getting on the score sheet with 2 goals. Conor Gallagher getting himself sent off. I mean, Chelsea just love making life hard for themselves. Like, they went 2-0 up and you're thinking, right, Brighton have been quite inconsistent for a lot of this season. So you're thinking, right, this will be a great opportunity for Chelsea to, have a comfortable, nice, resounding victory, and they made it tough for themselves. But ultimately, a win is a win. That's the most important thing. It was a bit bizarre at the end with the whole Levi Colwill thing, where they weren't sure, like, is it a penalty, is it not? I was just like, how are we even looking at this? This is a bit mental. And of course, we can't go through this weekend without talking about
Manchester United.
If you didn't see this game and you seen the score, you would think 1-0 Newcastle. Like, that's kind of expected with the way Man United are right now, the way Newcastle are at home at St James's Park. But this was not a 1-0 game. Like, Newcastle absolutely battered Manchester United. They ripped them, from shred to shred. Like, Newcastle should have won this game by more. The thing is, Newcastle probably don't have... The reason why Newcastle aren't further up in the league for me is they don't have the same attacking firepower as the teams above them. I think defensively they're extremely solid, even with some of the injuries that they've had. But Kieran Trippier is brilliant. Nick Pope's a great goalkeeper. Their midfield is getting, struggled at the start of the season, but overall their midfield is quite good with the likes of Bruno Guimaraes in there. One man, though, I think we do need to start putting some respect on his name, and that is Anthony Gordon. Don't get me wrong, as a Liverpool fan, I love throwing shade at ex-Everton players, and, I did think Everton fleeced Newcastle when I think Newcastle bought him for like 40 million, but he has been Newcastle's best player this season. He has been absolutely brilliant. A goal and assist versus Chelsea a couple of weeks ago, a goal against Man United as well. And he's still a young player and he's getting better, and he's tall, he's quick, he's got quick feet, and he's got a finish behind them as well. And I think Newcastle have struck gold with the signing with Anthony Gordon, and I genuinely think he's going to be a player that's a lot of people are going to speak more about in the next kind of couple of weeks and months. Like, that was a top quality performance from him. For Manchester United, though, it was just the same old. And do you know what the bizarre thing is like 2 years ago, Newcastle were bottom of the Premier League, and like, if you had said like within 2 years that Man United would be going to Newcastle, and everybody, like, and even their daughters and their brothers, their dogs, their cats, everybody expected Newcastle to win this. I mean, I was speaking to Man United fans during the week in the lead up to this game, and genuinely, like, it was like you were talking about the plague. Like, genuinely, like, Man United fans just didn't want to engage, didn't want to discuss, didn't want to talk about it. And it's just mad how bad they have become under Erik ten Hag in such a short space of time, considering, like, they have won a trophy this year. Like, this calendar year, Manchester United lifted a trophy in Wembley, and now, like, they don't even look like they're going to be they don't even look like a top 10 team at the minute, realistically speaking. And yeah, for Man United, it's only going to get worse as well. Like Chelsea coming up, I really think Chelsea will beat them during the week, to be honest with you. And the whole Champions League situation. I mean, for Man United to potentially finish bottom of a Champions League group is bizarre, considering the group that they're in. It's just genuinely mental. And yeah, it's bleak times if you're a Man United fan. Just looking at some other results from this weekend. Bournemouth 2, Aston Villa 2. You would look at this result and you'd say, it's a bad result for Villa not beating Bournemouth. But, Bournemouth have been in good form recently. Like, they beat Newcastle. They definitely have turned the corner under Iriola. And I do expect them to start to pull away from the relegation places in the next couple of weeks. Getting a point in the end, especially like for Villa. Villa, in my opinion, I made a video on Aston Villa a couple of weeks ago and everything else, and it done quite well. And I know some of you lads subscribe to this channel now are probably Aston Villa fans. I do think Aston Villa are moving in the right direction under Unai Emery, no question about it. I think title talk is, a little bit premature, but I think for a team aspiring to get into the Champions League, getting a point away to Bournemouth in the end, considering how the game played out, is not a bad result. You're still in fourth. 29 points on the board. You've been already to a lot of tough grounds. You've played already a lot of tough teams. So I think for Villa, they'll still be relatively happy with that. And, Villa's home form ultimately is what they rely on. Their away form has been a little bit questionable, although they beat Tottenham last week. Everton got a big win away against Nottingham Forest. That was a huge win. Fair play to Everton. Considering everything that's going on with their club, they just keep finding ways to win away from home, and Sean Dyche ball in full effect. I think they will stay up. And for Forest, it's a disappointing result. Usually tough to beat at home, so a little bit of a setback for them, you would say. Brentford beat Luton 3-1. Made a video on Luton a couple of days ago, and again, appreciate some of the comments over there. Probably not the best weekend for Luton, you would say. I mean, don't get me wrong, losing away to Brentford, I think most people could see it coming. Brentford are a good team. They're going away to Brentford. I don't think have lost in their home stadium to Liverpool since they've been promoted. I don't think they've lost to Man City. They've done fairly well against Arsenal. I remember they battered Man United last year 4-0. Brentford is a tough place to go. Do you know what I mean? So Luton, to be fair, they went 2 goals down. They got a goal back. They battled. The first half was 0-0. Fair play to them. They battled, and look, they done effectively what I expected them to do in that game. But with Burnley hammering Sheffield United 5-0, the result there, someone was going to take points somewhere there. But the fact that Burnley battered Sheffield United, it just gives Burnley fans, it gives their team a bit of hope. It gives their team a bit of confidence now going into the next couple of games. And, that's not what you want if you're a Luton fan. You want those teams to, have that game be a 0-0, 1-1, drab affair. You don't want any side gaining confidence there. But, some result for Burnley, in fairness. I think when Burnley play teams that they are, better than, without question, in terms of playing football, they will win like this. We saw them do this in the Championship last year. The problem is they play like this against almost every team they play, and majority of teams they play are better at football than them, so they beat them quite comfortably. Burnley don't have a plan B. They don't get men behind the ball. But look, good result for them, 5-0. It will give them hope. I still think they're going down anyway, but look, it gives them hope going into the next couple of weeks. West Ham 1, Palace 1 was the other game. I mean, obviously this game was on Sky. It really shouldn't have been. Just mad. Kudus scored. Fair kudos to him. I know you've heard that joke probably a million times already and are getting bored of it, but 1-1 was the score there. And I mean, again, West Ham, Palace, two sides that don't score a lot of goals. I don't really know why this game was shown, but look, it was an expected result. I think most people probably saw that coming, and there's nothing really else to say there. Anyway, leave a like, subscribe if you haven't already. I'm going to start trying to do a bit more kind of review shows at the end of every weekend, just give my own opinion on some of the games, talking about the games and everything else. And hopefully be out every Monday. I record it Sunday night and then hopefully get it out for Monday morning, or Monday 10, 12 o'clock, whatever. But hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't already. Do appreciate some of the new subscribers coming into the channel. So subscribe if you haven't already. My name's Aaron, and I'll see you when I see you.